Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Inside the FLX. I'm Josh Durso, and as always, we are coming to you from the FingerLakes1.com studio in downtown Seneca Falls. We have a very exciting show today as we welcome Bobby Massarini, businessman and candidate for New York State Senate District 54. Bobby, thanks a lot for stopping in.
Thanks for inviting me.
So it's been a really hectic race thus far, but before we get into talking about the race itself, tell us a little bit about yourself as the person, the man behind the candidate, so to speak.
Sure. I've worked for myself since '86. Started in the corporate culture, went out on my own, got involved in computer consulting, which led into marketing consulting, and from then lots of business planning and various opportunities. Wife likes to always say I haven't had a real job since '86.
So obviously you got into this because you care a lot about the area, the district. Talk to us about what your motivation was.
I first actually got into this. Currently, I own the brewery and distillery over in New York, Lost Kingdom Brewery and Firehouse Distillery. And in getting that business up and running, I saw how unfriendly New York was to business. I mean, I had already known that in my dealings downstate in helping other businesses get up and running. Seeing the Consolidating Funding app, which is a joke. 350 questions is not consolidated. I'm sorry. And at the end of the day, you go through all the paperwork, you get a tax credit. Nobody pays a light bill with a tax credit. Nobody can buy equipment with a tax credit. And I felt that that was something that needed to be taken care of. Saw that, heard that Mike was retiring, and I'm glad his health is doing better right now. But he was retiring. Everyone thought that Brian Cole was going to take it. He didn't. Then Bob Oakes was going to step up. Then he decided not. And I was like, well, why not?
Yeah.
Under the current political climate, with the Trump phenomenon, the Bernie Sanders movement, there's obviously an interest for something that's not politics as usual. And I felt that a regular person, like myself, actually has a shot to win this election and to be a voice for the people, because I think what we need is regular people in there. Career politicians, lawyers, that isn't cutting it. You put a bunch of lawyers together, what are they going to do? They're going to make more laws. We have enough laws. We have too many laws on the books, too many regulations. If anything, I want to remove a lot of those regulations.
So talk to us a little bit about, over the last few weeks, some legal issues with regards to the campaign, and now you've been removed from the ballot.
Yes.
On paper, but you're still moving forward.
Yes. We went out and went through the petition process, got 1,275 signatures, of which you're always going to have those one or two where somebody isn't registered, thought they were, etc., where somebody signed who felt they were in the district and weren't, whatever the case may be there. But we still had close to 1,200 signatures there. One of the witnesses in my campaign, in this case, it was my son. When he first moved, he moved from Auburn to Ledyard, wrote down the wrong address on his absentee ballot. Still got the ballot because he went into the office to get it. Voted, no problems, everything's fine. On the petitions, he put his correct actual address, as you're supposed to do. We were not aware that the Board of Elections had the wrong address on their files. Because of that, every petition he witnessed got knocked off. Now, the law states that you have 3 days, once you're made aware of that, to validate the correct address with the BOE, and the signatures are fine. We did it within an hour. But apparently, that wasn't good enough. I'm not knocking the BOE. It was a mistake on our part. Should we have pulled the voter registration card and looked at it before? Oh, yeah, now I know that. Definitely would do that again. But nobody was aware that there was a wrong address, and we took care of it right away. Unfortunately, that means, in my case, close to 1,200 people get disenfranchised. They put out petitions, they sign petitions to get someone on the ballot, and their voice doesn't count. When you add Joe Geiger into the mix, there's another 1,200 signatures. Same thing occurred with him. Not the same specifics, but the same thing. And even Charlie Evangelista on the Democratic side, who the same group knocked off. So you're talking close to 4,000 voters who were disenfranchised. That's wrong.
And in talking to you before we came live here, ballot reform is something you are thinking seriously about now.
Oh, most definitely. The three major issues when I first got involved in this race were making New York business friendly, helping small businesses, and there's a lot of things that can be done to do that, to promote more business growth. Helping the agricultural section. This district is especially agricultural. And dealing with the SAFE Act. We all say we want to repeal it. Reality is you need to chip away at it. Take a page out of the Democratic playbook and slowly chip away at it until the law has no teeth. But 1A for me at this point would be ballot access and ballot reform. The last time there was ballot reform was in 1992, which was supposed to stop what just happened. With the acceptance of fraud or anything else, it's supposed to be that small errors and omissions should not invalidate a signature or, as the law states, be fatal to a sheet. But that obviously isn't the case. And any law that needs a lawyer to explain it to you is bad law.
Now, with that being said, what are the next steps for your campaign? Obviously, you're going to mount a write-in campaign, correct?
Correct. We got done on Monday. I put out a press release saying thank you. Sorry I can't fight for you. In the meantime, I had gotten letters in the mail, emails, phone calls saying you got to be in this somehow. We don't care what line you're on. We want to vote for you. We want to support you. My whole stance has been that I'm looking to be a voice for the people. It's not about my ideas. It's about their ideas. And I'm the sales rep for the district. Well, in this case, all those people who signed petitions for me, for Joe, even for Charlie, don't have a voice right now.
Yeah.
And what I'm looking to do is offer that. And they may not be letting me put my name on the ballot, but the voters can write my name on the ballot.
Yep. Now, there does seem to be a pretty large disconnect between the outsider-insider mentality. Talk to us a little bit about what that part of it has been like for you on the personal experience side.
I mean, this started out with a nominating convention, and this was already a done deal for Pam Helming before we even walked in the door. Everybody, I think, knew that going in. My goal was to go there, make some noise, be considered a viable candidate. And we accomplished that. We were fourth right out of the box. My speech was the talk of the evening, and people realized, hey, this guy's legit. And for someone who had never run for office before, that, was a good success. The next step was go out and get the petition signatures,
right?
Which we did. Now, I've already stated on our website and everything else that we did a lot of it ourselves. It's great when committee people go out and get your signatures, but the committee people aren't the people running. The candidate is. The candidate should be the one trying to get the bulk of the signatures. The candidate should be meeting with the people, talking with them.
Right.
I'd spend anywhere from 20 minutes to 45 minutes at a house just discussing issues. But that's the reason you're going out there, to find out what the issues are, to answer any questions. The problem with the law is, you read the law books, they encourage the candidate not to get signatures because of fraud issues or anything else that could come up, and the candidate could be accused of X, Y, and Z. Why are we assuming that the candidates are going to commit fraud to get on the ballot? If they are, these aren't the candidates we want.
Yeah.
There's a complete disconnect right there, and the entire concept has always been that Pam is the chosen candidate. They don't want any opposition. That's why they knocked off a Democrat. It makes no sense. In her campaign runs prior to this for supervisor, she ran unopposed. Prior to that, she got on both the Republican and the Democratic line so she could run unopposed. Can she not run against somebody? Let the people decide. It's supposed to be we the people, not we the ruling elite, we the establishment.
Now, let's talk about some of the issues inside the district. Obviously,
Sure.
you're mounting a serious write-in campaign. So now, what are the issues? Now, one of the big issues in this district has been just the entire idea that business growth and taxes are not going in the right directions.
Agreed.
Talk to us a little bit about what you feel, as a business owner, what you feel you can do differently.
One of the biggest problems, and the IDAs and the EDCs have the best intentions out there. But as I stated earlier, you go through a lot of paperwork to end up with nothing at the end of the day. And the banks don't want to release money. Mm-hmm. You need to think outside the box. How do you get the banks to release money? How do you get the banks to be more willing to open up their coffers? You need to lower their liability, lower their risk in order for them to do that. Right now, if you're going to do a senior housing project, HUD vets the project, turns around and makes sure there's market feasibility studies, everything else, and then they go to the banks to get the money because HUD's guaranteeing the project. Mm-hmm. Similar concept could be done in regular business, only using a private-public partnership scenario, where you get some larger corporations, especially corporations that may or may not have some PR issues that need to help in the area. Mm-hmm. Living in Seneca Falls, we know of one of them right up the street here.
Yeah. So let's...
I'll lead into that. But,
yeah.
There's a company that could be willing to put some money up, help mentor some of those smaller companies, guarantee, be collateral that just sits in an account, but it's collateral for that bank. Mm-hmm. So the bank's more willing to give the funds, and you might have a failure or two, but it'll be 2 out of 10 businesses. The other 8 will survive, and the private entity putting up the funding is actually making money on interest, making money along the way, and it's generating them great PR, and they're helping the community. Mm-hmm. So it becomes a win-win for everyone. Now, that's just one concept, but it is trying to think outside the box and how do we make this happen. Now, obviously, I was talking about Seneca Meadows there, okay? And I know that's one of the issues here, which is a very hot potato topic around here. Yep. I look at it as a necessary evil right now. There are lots of jobs there already. Mm-hmm. They are, compared to a lot of the landfills, more environmentally responsible than many of them that are out there. Mm-hmm. I've worked on projects downstate and saw how those people run it. And I grew up in Jersey. I was around garbage dumps. I know it. Mm-hmm. The difference is I understand the people's concern with trucking in things from downstate, which is a big problem. While landfill usage has dropped tremendously in New York State, 30% of all the landfill garbage waste ends up in this district. Yeah. We're not 30% of the state, so why do we have 30% of the garbage? So I see both sides of the issue here, and I think there can come to a win-win again, a happy medium. Mm-hmm. I see all the signs for Seneca Free in 2017 and everything else right next to the line of garbage cans all the way along the road. Well, where do you think it's going? It's got to go somewhere. There's ways to do reuse. There's ways to use anaerobic digesters. There's ways to do incineration. There's ways to not be trucking it in, but at the same time still reap the benefits the towns are reaping, and also mitigate the concern of having it there. Once again, is it something, does anybody want a landfill in their backyard? No. But it's here. And since it is providing jobs and they are doing a decent job of handling it, the biggest issue I think came with this last winter. Being a warm winter, you had extra microbial activity, the smell. But then again, anyone who lives near a farming area gets the smell when they're putting the slurry on the ground too. So, it's part of being here, but it's something that can be resolved, and they've been working at it. And I believe that there can be a compromise where the people in Seneca Falls, the people in Waterloo, still reap some of the benefits, but we can have the trucks mitigated. We can have less trash being hauled in from New York City. There are ways to work around it. I just think we got to get past the hyperbole and let everybody sit down at a table and work it all out.
All right, so switching gears a little bit, you're obviously owning a brewery. Interesting perspective from that side. I feel like a lot of people talk about the wine and brewing industry, but not necessarily can speak to it from that industry. Talk to us a little bit about what you'll bring to the table as a candidate, as a potential senator, with that in mind.
Well, love Cuomo, hate Cuomo. One of the things he did do was loosen up the regulations on the wine, beer, and spirits industry, which has helped growth tremendously. And that helps to promote tourism. The thing is, we need to let people know that the Finger Lakes region exists beyond the Finger Lakes. You know, there are plenty of people downstate they think upstate is Westchester. They're unaware that this is even out here. Wines are made in California or in France, and that's it. And they don't realize we have some of the best wines up here. We have some of the best beers up here at this point. And the craft brewing industry is growing tremendously. Distilling is growing tremendously. And these are just areas of growth. And when you take that part of the industry and agriculture combined together, that is a large part of the economic engine in this area. And I think being a part of that industry gives me insight into what the people deal with. The rules and regulations we deal with, the paperwork we have to do, both for the SLA and the TTB. Which the TTB, by the way, for those who don't know, is the Tax and Trade Bureau. That's the arm of the BATF. You know, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms.
Yep.
3 things that aren't supposed to go together. Or that should be a convenience store. And they added explosives to that, and that's what happens when you add all 3 together.
So talk to us a little bit. One of the sort of talking points of a lot of the candidates thus far has been unfunded mandates. Talk to us a little bit about the stress that these individual counties are feeling, and as a result,
well, you've got this
residents
combination. You've got a 2% tax cap.
Yep.
Then you have the mandates come down from the state that the towns have no choice but to provide services for. But their sources of income are limited. We don't want to raise taxes. This state is taxed enough, both business-wise and personal-wise. But the towns are getting killed. The school districts are getting killed. And basically, I feel that any mandate or any social program, whatever it may be that the state wants to provide, has to provide the funding with it. If the funding is not provided with it, then they shouldn't be allowed to pass it and make it into law. You know, it's fairly simple. I want to buy this, but I don't have any money. Well, guess what? I can't buy that until I find a way to get the income for that.
Now, one of the core issues that seems to always find its way into most of these conversations is that divide between upstate and downstate. And you've talked about it a little bit. How do we reconnect the two? Because we are, at the end of the day, we are one state, right?
We are. But there is a mentality difference. And that's what I felt I brought to the table as a candidate. I grew up in New Jersey. I lived in Sullivan County, in the lower Hudson Valley, for 20 years before I moved up this way. I spent 30 years selling, negotiating, and dealing with that New York City mentality. All of my clients were still in Midtown Manhattan, investment bankers, Midtown lawyers, managing directors, etc. 4 boys in 5 years, they eat a lot, so I needed to keep the income out of Manhattan.
That's right.
I know how to sell to that mentality. I know how to make them believe that the idea I'm promoting is actually their idea. You know, and this is, you know, I'll back you on this idea.
Yep.
Okay? And this is good for your constituents. Let them believe it's their idea. They promote it. I don't have to be on the bill. You just get it done, and then we can get things accomplished. We also need to make them realize what benefits there are that are brought from upstate to downstate. And it's a matter of being able to work with people. You can't just hammer them over the head. There's a couple candidates in this race who feel they can just bark out orders. You know, it doesn't work that way in Albany. You know, to use a downstate term, you got to be able to schmooze with them. You got to be able to sell to them.
Now, one of the things that I really found interesting with you is your background in marketing. And one of the things that I've always felt that the region sort of lacks is individual marketing. Now, you, with that mind, you must see this and you must think to yourself, these
Sure.
places can do better. Talk to us
Both
about that.
marketing in this area as well as marketing with ideals. Republicans are the worst marketers on the planet. They have some of the best ideas, but they don't know how to sell them. Democrats know how to sell them, but they've got lousy ideas. So we need to come to some agreement here where we learn how to market. No one cares what you think until they think that you care. And that's really what we as Republicans have forgotten. You know, as far as marketing the area, you need to promote the industries that are up here. You need to promote how should I even say it, just the benefits that are brought to the area and for people who want to come up here, to vacation up here. This is a great place.
Right.
Between the lakes, the environment, the Wayne County with all the fruit growing and everything, right up along the lake.
Definitely. So what is, before we get you out of here, we're running a little tight on time.
Sorry.
What is, oh no, it's all good. What are the next steps for you now in the coming weeks leading into the primary?
next step really is we need to make sure we can build a team to do this. It is a big task to run a write-in campaign. I did it back in '91 running a Tioga County Commissioner race in Pennsylvania, so I know it can be done. We successfully won that race. But the key is having volunteers at the polls, or outside the polls actually, promoting signs, promoting the name, informing the voters that they can write in a name. I'd love people who are interested in helping and supporting to reach out to the website, Massarini4StateSenate.com. There's a contact button there. If you don't have the internet, you can call me at 315-730-4256 and leave your name and number, and we'll reach out to you. I need to build a team that can go out and do this. I can't just do it on my own. And if we can get that support, the next step then is letting the voters know that they can do this. The first step is getting the message out there. Then building that team, making sure we got people in place, and making sure we got people at the polls. And it can be done. I've seen it done. We got over 3,000 votes in that race. In a primary here, 3,000 votes is going to go a long way.
Right.
So, and you really need to realize if you're not happy with the process, if you don't want the establishment candidate and you want a choice, you want an alternative, write my name in.
Right. All right. So what is your sort of bottom line hope for this entire cycle? What is the thing that you're really hoping to see come out of this race?
Besides being able to be a voice for the people in this district, letting the east side of the area also have a say. You know, Brian Anctillo is going to do a good job in mentioning some of the concerns for Wayne County, but between myself and Brian, we can cover those ag concerns in Seneca, Cayuga, and Wayne County. So this doesn't become a race between Webster and Canandaigua. And that's kind of what we want, just to be in the mix, to be in the debates, to turn around and represent the bulk of the district that seems to be forgotten.
And I guess the one thing I'll get you out of here on is just what is your parting message to the voters, to the people who are watching or listening right now and are saying, I like what I'm hearing?
If you want to say, if you want to have a voice, if you want someone who'll listen to you in Albany, join the team. Come help. It's not about me. It's about you, and it's about me working for you.
Right, and we will have all of your information right at the bottom of this video and on fingerlakes1.com. Bobby, really appreciate you coming in today. Wish you the best of luck moving forward.
Thank you. We'll keep in touch. I'll give you updates.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's going to do it for us today. I'd like to thank Bobby for stopping by and let our viewers know that next week we will have Victortown Supervisor Jack Marin in studio to talk about Ontario County, Victor, and much more. Inside the FLX airs Sundays at 7 p.m. on Time Warner Cable Channel 12. And, of course, the podcast is always available on iTunes, Stitcher, and the FingerLakes1.com app. For Bobby Massarini, I'm Josh Durso, reminding you to join us next week for another episode of Inside the FLX.